Welcome to this episode of the Gearbox Podcast. Now, as a shop owner myself, I know how challenging it can be to juggle the daily tasks of running a successful repair shop. Between managing customers, keeping up with repairs, and staying on top of payments, it can feel like there are just not enough hours in the day, especially now that the holidays are coming up. That's why I want to tell you about Shop Boss. It's the ultimate solution for automotive shop management, designed by industry experts who truly understand our challenges. In fact, the founder was a former shop owner himself. Shop Boss is incredibly user-friendly, so it's easy to set up, learn, and train your team. And the payment options, they've got everything covered. Text to pay, PayPal, Venmo, consumer financing, and even surcharging. It's all embedded seamlessly with Boss Pay powered by 360 payments. No more bouncing between different systems. It's all built right in. To learn more about what Shop Boss can do for your business, visit this custom link for Gearbox listeners. shopboss.net/Gearbox, shopboss.net/Gearbox. And if you didn't hear me the first two times, that's shopboss.net/Gearbox. Or simply touch the link in the show notes. Welcome to the Gearbox Podcast, where we dive deep into the dynamic world of automotive repair and ownership. I'm your host, Jimmy Purdy, an experienced technician turned shop owner with a passion for sharing insights, stories, and conversations with industry leaders. This is the Gearbox Podcast. Well, thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you for having us.
And we have a guest.
We've got Tilly, my superstar. Yay.
So you guys are the rock stars behind the counter at, remind me the name of the shop again.
George's Friendly Auto Service in Lincoln,
That's right.
California.
Friendly Auto Service. I couldn't remember the name. I know it was Friendly Auto. You can't forget that.
Right?
It's like my father's garage, you know?
Yeah. We're defaulting
like
to
such
Jorge's.
a cool name.
Jorge's.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Jorge's Friendly Garage. That sounds, I don't know if that sounds better or worse. I don't know. They call it. Well, that's cool. So, from what I understand, Tilly's newer to the industry or newer to the service counter?
Yeah, I've got I'm going on my 6th year right now.
Oh, okay. Well, you're not that new then. That's
Still
a fair amount of time.
Fresh meat.
So when it comes to running the front end of a auto shop, I think, and we kind of touched about this the last time we were talking, right? Of like the difference between how a man can come in and kind of like dominate the situation, and how like people come in, they have a problem, and it's like you have a hard time navigating that conversation, right? When it comes to like auto repair, do you still get a lot of that, a lot of the distrust, like they don't believe what you're saying, they just want to talk to the technician out back?
Oh yeah, all the time. But it's redirecting and getting the conversation to turn back around and to gain that trust back with you. All of it's redirection.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I see it a lot. My wife runs the front and she does a fantastic job of navigating those conversations. It's a lot more talking than like what I would have to in some situations, right? But then there's other times when you can probably navigate that a little better than I ever could, you know, because I just don't have that intelligence. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the social intelligence of like being able to look at that conversation, like talk people down or talk them into certain situations. It's like whatever it is you're trying to sell them at that point. Do you see that as trying to sell a service, or how do you look at it? Like, how do you, when you day-to-day operations, like, how do you feel about providing the service?
It's more, I don't really look at it so much in the business type aspect. I look at it more, thank you. I like to look at it like I'm gaining a relationship with somebody, and it puts it in a whole different aspect where I can gain the trust of somebody. A customer comes in, they know that they're going to be taken care of, and the ones that are hard to talk to, it's been a challenge for sure. But a lot of that redirection and putting it back in the customer's ball court and being able to give them the empowerment and the knowledge and being able to teach them along the way, I think that that makes 90% of the situations better.
Yeah. Do you feel like when they come in, and not this is probably not all the time. I'm sure y'all have like a fantastic client base.
It's
And
crazy how we're kind of spoiled with our client base, but we've worked really hard for that. I don't want to
Right.
brag by any means because I don't want to jinx it mostly, but we have a really good client base. Yeah.
Well, I've noticed the ones that we're all kind of in this group, right? This Facebook group, and some people scowl at that, like, Facebook, what's that for? But it's like this networking group that's so much more powerful than we could ever really imagine. And like everyone that's in it, we're all in this like top 1%, 2% of the shops. And with that being said, I don't think most of us really have an issue with clients, like when it comes to that, like, and just knowing that we kind of communicate on the same platform, it's like goes without saying. I'm sure you don't have to deal with that a whole lot. I'm sure you got,
Yeah, no.
but when you do, it's like my interpretation, and I just see, and all I see is kind of the fires that I got to put out. And so in my thought, it's like, how is this person like worked up to this point? Like, why are we so stressed about a vehicle? And the way I see is they came into the shop with the thought of, I'm gonna find out. They're just waiting to validate their opinions that this shop's going to rip them off.
Yeah, and it's a lot of, and there is a lot of mistrust out there, and I hate to say it, but it's still happening. We're seeing a rash of, and we don't badmouth other shops, but we are seeing a rash of dealerships that are sending little old ladies to us because we have a 6,500 home senior citizen community, upper middle class in our direct market. And, there's a lot of widows that we deal with. And, for instance, we had just last week, not us, Tilly actually handled this. This little old lady came in and I walked up to her and Tilly talking, and this lady was in tears crying. And I'm going to let Tilly finish the story on that because she has all the details. But it was egregious what actually happened at the dealership, and it's not the first time. We're seeing it so frequently now that, and other shops in our area, they're pretty good. I mean, they're for the most part, everybody in our little town's above board. But some of the stuff that we're seeing coming to us, of course they're going to have mistrust. Why wouldn't they? It's become a little bit disgusting in a lot of ways. So when you're dealing with that public and trying to navigate and gain customers' confidence and trust, you have to realize that you have a lot to contend with. If it's their first visit there, they have a whole lifetime of dealing with automotive shops, and who knows what they've gone through. So having that social and emotional intelligence to be able to recognize that and then take your ego out of it while you're communicating. And yeah, they may be upset, but they're not necessarily upset with you. They're upset because, first of all, nobody wants to go get their car fixed because that means their car's broken. So there's already that, and then the past that they've had. But you want to carry on the story with that little old lady who was so sweet?
Yeah, she was, oh my gosh, too sweet. She came in tears and put a piece of paper in front of me and said, hey, the dealership, I just got back from there. I think she went in for a recall, or was that
it was a recall?
It was the recall. And
no, she went in for a service. The other lady was the recall.
The other lady was the recall. So she puts this piece of paper down. She said, well, she's got 30,000 miles on her vehicle. And all of a sudden she needs a new water pump. She needs her brake fluid, coolant flush. She needs a new drive belt. And I asked her, I said, well, do they give you any explanation, any rhyme or reason why you need these things? And she said, no, they just said that I need it and I need to do it now. It's critical for the vehicle. And I said, well, did they say that your water pump's leaking? I mean, you've got 30,000 miles. So let's kind of be realistic here. And she's in tears. I'm looking over the paperwork, and we are super big over communicators. Very, very over communicative with people.
Us?
No. And I'm looking at it, and they sell it to her almost like it's a timing belt type job. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is a timing chain, right? This doesn't make any sense. And they put on their drive belt needs to be replaced, water pump needs to be replaced, no explanation, just needs to be done. Oh, and by the way, if you do it today, we'll give you half off. So red flags everywhere. That's been happening across the board at a lot of dealerships.
We inspected that car, right?
Yeah, we inspected her the next day.
How much did she need?
Nothing.
Well, technically, she drove it in. She doesn't really need anything, right? I mean, that's the whole thing when it comes to like the DVIs and the 300% rule, and I'm not saying that in a negative connotation by any way, right? Like we want to make sure we're checking all the stuff, right? Like we don't want to miss anything. And so you do these these extravagant inspections to make sure that we're not missing anything because we're so afraid of it going to the next shop and them saying, "Hey, why didn't you tell me this or that or the other thing?" Right? I mean, for me anyway, that's how I feel about it. I don't want to, but then it turns into kind of overselling that point, and now you're handing out these $3,000 or $3,500 estimates on a vehicle that they drove in, and it's like oh man, like I think we overshot ourselves a little bit, right? Like talking about over communicating, I was like definitely overselling, when it comes
Not
to
if
that.
you're doing it right. So if you're so I do believe in the 300% rule. There was a whole lot of controversy about the 300% rule mentioned over all the classes not all the classes, but a lot of the classes at Vision that I went to. It's kind of interesting, but the 300% rule doesn't have to be a hungry sales tactic. I mean, you really have the responsibility to that customer to inform them of what you see. Now, as the service advisor, when you're selling, and people take sales as a bad word, but you're selling the customer in an ethical and moral way to influence them to make the best decision for themselves. Who am I, or who is Tilly, to make that decision for the customer? We're just there to give facts. So I think the 300% rule right now in the industry is getting a little bit of a bad rep. But at the same point, if you're utilizing that properly, it really is an effective tool, and you don't have to oversell. You're not trying to take the customer's entire pocketbook. And back to one of our other little old ladies that came in, we had just seen her vehicle. We had just did a digital vehicle inspection, and then she went to the dealership for a recall. And then she called us back because she was upset with us because why didn't we tell her she needed XYZ? And, of course, Tilly gets the phone call. So Tilly handled that. So how did that work out?
Oh yeah, I told her, come bring your vehicle back in. Let me get a different technician on it and let's recheck it, because if we miss something, we want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to look over vehicles properly and giving you the best information possible. But at the same time, get her back in. And she's visibly upset and totally understandable. And I pulled up her paperwork, I printed it out, get another technician on it, new blind eye, and we do the same digital inspection over. And I told her, hey, I trust my technicians 100%. I have no fear that they are doing what is proper and doing a thorough inspection on your vehicle. But if we miss something, let's address it. And we get the inspection back in, and it's pretty much 99% on to what the other technician saw. And so we did, test strips on the brake fluid and coolant, and just did a really good look over again on it. And the same conclusion from the last time. And then I explained to her, what's going on with what it is that they're recommending. Hey, yeah, you can do these things based off of your mileage. We have, we have told you in the past, we recommend the coolant service based off of mileage only. It wasn't out of pH specification or anything. There was nothing that I could say you absolutely need to do this right now. But it's that empowerment of letting the customer be able to make that choice, knowing what it is that's explained to them. And if you explain it to them in a way that brings them on the same level with you, you have a better success at it. But at the same time, not overselling and going in scare tactics is what I like to call it.
And that's exactly what they did to her.
Scare tactics.
And then she was upset with us. So we had to have the emotional intelligence to be able to understand, hey, we understand you're upset right now because you think that we missed something, and we are fully ready to take accountability of that. And I even walked through the office and let her know, if this is a situation where my technicians miss something, I need to know, because I need to correct that on the back end. So let's work together. And so, Tilly was able to successfully bring her back to the point of, she realized that we didn't actually miss stuff. I mean, what was her quote? Like $3,000?
Yeah, it was about $3,000
from the dealer that she needed all the stuff that we missed. So it's just, that was within a week. So she had these two wildly different different experiences with automotive shops in the same week. So who knows what else is happening out there and why we're having, we're getting these customers that we don't know their backstory.
Yeah, I mean the mistrust, it's obviously stems from somewhere. People don't just like automatically assume all the shops are ripping them off just out of thin air. It's probably because it's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, right? Like you go to the dealership and they want all this work done, and it's like, well, who's right? You know, who like, does it need it? Does it not need it? And you start talking about preventative maintenances and calling stuff out based on mileage instead of what it looks like. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
who's right there? And you just get down the slippery slope. And like I said, I didn't mean to like throw shade at the 300% rule. We have it. We are, that's how our shop is built off of.
Oh, I don't
Like,
think you were throwing shade at it at all.
no,
I
but
think it
for
brings up a
anybody else
very
that
good topic.
that might be
Yeah.
listening that thinks like that's not what I meant. I mean, it's a great tool if it's used effectively, and it's just like
Exactly.
with communication. Like you can definitely be a great communicator if you're just a sleazy salesman, right? Like there was definitely snake oil salesmen that got
There's
by pretty
those
good,
too.
So it's like just because you're a fantastic communicator doesn't mean that you're going to be right in a service role anyway. But I think getting back to that whole the 300% rule is effectively communicating. I think you both nailed it, where it's like if you communicate the process and give the client the facts they need to make an informed decision, that's the whole
Yes.
point. Like
Mhm.
it's not, but how hard is it to get some people to understand? Like you say, okay, so you got 100,000 miles on this, we should probably flush the coolant, right? That in itself is already kind of like wishy-washy, right? I'm like, well, manufacturer specific says we should. We did the coolant strips, and we could probably do a recharge on it to bring up the glycol levels or whatever is going on with it, right? So it's like, so do I need to flush it? Or do I not need to flush it? It's like, and
Yeah.
and right then you have to make that decision. Like, so am I advising this flush or am I not advising this? There's nothing really wrong, but it is due to because of manufacturer spec. So how do you handle that kind of situation?
Give options.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about options. You put it back in their court. You let them have the power over their own vehicle. It is their vehicle at the end of the day. It is their money that's in their wallet, and it's their trust that they're putting in you. And if you instill that trust in that relationship and go, hey, you know what, this, just like you said, maybe it's the pH levels are okay on it. It doesn't look too bad, but let's look at this realistically. This is what can happen. This is what builds up inside the cooling system. These are things that can happen. You inform the customer and you give them the option. The more that a customer has an option to be able to do something with their vehicle, the more likely success you're going to have gaining that sale.
Preach
and it's
it.
not just a sale. It's
Preach
not
it.
just a sale. You're gaining their trust, you're gaining their family, their friends. Everybody is going to come to you because they know that they have the option, because they are being informed about their vehicles. And that's key right there.
Yeah. And for another kind of difficult situation is like doing inspection and seeing brakes at like say 25%, right? You hit that line where it's like yellow red, right? It's like orange. Like,
Right?
it's not like, oh man, but they're not coming back in the shop for the next 6 months. Like most people don't come, they don't go to the shop every 2 or 3 months. So you have to like navigate that information to someone that might not be mechanically inclined. And it's so hard to like say, man, I mean, and it's basically at the end of the day, like, well, you came in here today, so I don't know if like we need to do anything, but we want to make sure we capture everything, make our sales, but also make sure we give an informed decision to the client. And it's like, where does that kind of gray line sit? Like,
Well, we start asking questions when we're at that, 4 millimeter mark on the brakes, where it's going to be we use the term in the near future a lot. And then, of course, customers ask, well, what does that near future mean? Well, let's talk about this. What kind of driving are you doing? We have some people that are driving 1,000 miles a year. We have some customers that are driving 1,000 miles a month. We have some customers that are flatlanders down here, and we have some that are going to the foothills. So understanding what that vehicle means to that customer and what they're using it for. So when we have that in the near future, hey, Jess, Tilly, what does that near future means? Well, How do you drive? Do you drive like a bat out of hell? I know that I do. I know that I burn through brakes sometimes. So we need to have this conversation, and let's find out a way. And then the biggest thing is we could do it now, but it would be preventative measures at this point. It's not because you need it. And we're happy to do that, but we're also happy having you wait. And if you happen to start hearing any brake noise, feel free to come back in here. We'll take a look. If we're not going to see you in, say, a year because you drive 1,000 miles a year, it's all about that rapport with the customer. You have to understand the customer and get on their level to know what to recommend to them and how to advise them as far as giving what options to give them.
I think that we as advisors control the environment. That is huge.
Yes.
If you don't know how to establish that initial communication, that initial trust, and then to be able to pull back the reins when things go south and to be able to change the environment that you're in, then you're not going to have success. And the confidence level behind it too is huge. You have to go in knowing that you're not trying to take advantage of somebody. And even in like John says, sometimes you have to make the hard calls.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, you got to make some big decisions sometimes for other people.
I need an adult. I need an adult.
I want to talk about dispatch though, because that's one of the big struggles I think a lot of shops have, right? Is the dispatching of the workflow. Like that's where it's all key. And you run the show, right? As an advisor, not only are you advising the clients, but you guys are advising what goes on in the shop, who gets what, and trying to keep politics out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we are trying something new. So back to going to Vision. I took a very awesome class with Clint White, and it was on effective scheduling and workflow management. And that was one of the highlights of my trip to Vision was that class. And that has probably been the most, the class that has effectuated the most change in our shop, even in just the past week. So what we're trying now, so we don't have a politic issue in the most part, as far as who gets what. We have 4 technicians. It might be 3 soon, but there's that. But we have the 4 technicians, and we all are pretty honest with ourselves about our strengths and our weaknesses as far as where we're at on the team. So dispatch gets done based on that, on strengths. Why am I going to give somebody or totally give somebody a job that they're not geared to do? Unless we're giving somebody an opportunity to learn something new, which then we go into that knowing. But the thing that I brought back from Vision that we're trying, and it's been embraced, is the 2-shop day. And so the way, because we've had our biggest challenge lately has been efficiency in the shop. And so what we're doing is the morning we're doing all of our inspections, our oil changes, because we do the inspections there, our diagnostics, anything that is kind of the triage and finding answers. That is our morning shop. And all of the guys go to lunch from 12 to 1. We have that set pretty routine. And then the afternoon shop, the second shop, is the do-it shop. And that's when we're doing all of the things that we have sold from the previous part of the day or the previous day that couldn't get done in that. And I feel like it's working, Tilly.
It has been phenomenal. It is the biggest game changer. It has changed our efficiency around.
I mean, Brandon's at 110 right now.
Oh my gosh.
110%.
He is slaying. Slaying.
Oh, Brandon, we talked about him last time, and I was like, oh, cut his name out. I don't want to cut his name out this time because,
he is kicking butt.
He's killing it. In fact, we had another episode or another situation where the day before you put the podcast out, I was actually talking about getting rid of him again because he wasn't following instructions. But it was emotional on all of us because we were having a really big efficiency issue. And what I realized was that was my failure again. I'm bad. It was my failure again. And I was pulling him in too many different directions, and he was missing crucial key points. So I came home that weekend, and I came to the conclusion that I need to be able to set him up for success. And I came into it with that. And then that very same day, I am drinking my coffee. I look down and I see that you had posted the podcast where we had talked about, his growth on the last time. And it's been phenomenally amazing with him and just seeing him flourish. But this two shop operation situation we have, he went from like, gosh, 60%, and he does primarily most of the oil changes, which do pay a little bit less as far as flat rate. We're a hybrid system where they get a really good base pay plus a bonus for production. But he went from 60%, and last time I did the thing on Friday, he was at 110%, and he was calm, collected, happy, efficient. His quality was great. In fact, that digital vehicle inspection that went to the dealership that they said that we missed stuff, it had me concerned coming back because it was Brandon that inspected it the first time. And I'm like, oh crap, what if he missed stuff and, we're in this hot water? He didn't. He didn't. He has gotten so much better at them that he was spot on, and they went to the dealer with it. And I had my senior tech look at it the second time. So just that dispatching to strengths and understanding that every single person in our team has strengths and weaknesses and playing to that. And then dispatching also makes the way that you dispatch it does affect the efficiency. Efficiency is huge. And to get that, you have to be able to dispatch it properly.
Yeah. And it's an art.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because people grow, and that's awesome. Like, it's awesome to hear technicians, anyone in the industry, to grow. I mean, that's what we're here to do, right? Like, elevate the industry and learn from each other and take certain aspects and just get better together. So it's awesome. And when you talk about dispatch and like having this like this mind's eye of how is he going to be today, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not even about like what he's learned in the last couple of years or whatever, but it's like, how's the attitude going to be today, right, versus tomorrow versus what it was yesterday. And then you also have to play where you're not trying to play into politics, where you're like, okay, well, I told him I would let him learn on the next timing belt or the next timing chain or whatever's coming in, right? But it's like, that's not today,
Yeah.
And then they see that job come in, like, oh man, I told them I really wanted to try one of those, and then that it's like you start breeding that a little bit. So there's so many things going on that you're trying to do the right thing, but at the end of the day, you're trying to make everyone efficient so they get paid.
And then the unknowns.
That's the ultimate goal.
Then you have the unknowns. So you're diagnosing a car. You plan your morning shop, and you have the diagnostic, inspection, oil change, whatever it is. And then you get into it, and then you get a curveball. And then that you had 4 things, 5 things lined up that morning, or 2 things, 3 things, whatever. And then you have this curveball totally mollywop you, and you have to adjust to that and adapt and pivot. That's always fun.
I was just gonna bring that up too. Like, having the 2 shop situation is like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm sold on that 100%, just because if something from the day before transfers over to the morning and now you have this repair that's ongoing, and you've tried to set up to have the inspections and the oil changes, but now you got a car stuck on the lift, or I mean, I don't know. And it's
There's
tough
always
to,
wiggle room.
there's always
always
I
wiggle
mean,
room.
and I just how my brain works. I always look at like how to set up a situation where worst case scenario every time, instead of like looking at the positive and being like, no, we'll figure that out. Let's just keep moving forward with this new system, right? Like, no, it's not going to work because there's going to be one day someone, this is going to happen, so that whole system's not going to work.
Well, we did adapt it this last week, because here's another thing to that. You can't stick to operating procedures they're pirate rules. They're guidelines that should be followed. However, there are some instances when it needs to be adapted. For instance, we had this huge evaporator core job in the shop right now for this Jeep that Tilly sold. I am not going to have a technician start that job and pull off that job unless their brain space is broken and they want to break from it. I'm not going to pull them off of that just to conform to the 2 shop rule. So what happened was we started that job on Thursday afternoon in the second shop. But in that case, I'm not going to have him do inspections and oil changes in the morning. I'm going to have him continue on to that, because it's such a huge job that if you do pull him off to do XYZ, whatever it is, you're creating an opportunity for forgetting something, extra bolts on the bench that didn't get put back. So there's always wiggle room to any kind of situation like that. But for us in the dispatching world and efficiency, it seems to be working. And now, again, we are a week and a half into this, but it is working for us so far.
Yeah, the change is always good, and it's almost addicting.
Yes.
when you find new processes, new procedures, new software, new phone system, I can go on and on and on. It's like, I just want it all. I like all the new shiny stuff. I have the ADD, right? I got a technician's brain. I love like just learning new things, right?
Jess.
Okay,
I saw her I saw her side
ADHD.
eyeing you a little bit there.
I am a
Ooh, shiny
squirrel.
stuff.
I'm a squirrel for sure. And that I think is why Tilly and I work so well together, because she's my rock when it comes to a lot.
We balance
No-
each other out.
We balance. You're the yin to my yang.
Like, no more new stuff. No more. That's it.
I mean, I did get a violin recently that's sitting on the shelf here. And then what else did I get into? I had this podcasting setup that I got into here. I've used it twice now.
What do you not have at this point?
Well,
Wait, no, don't go there.
Yeah, it's I mean, and that's what I mean. It's like all the changes and stuff is addicting. And the one thing I always remember someone telling me a long time ago is like, you can change the lighting in your shop and make it brighter, and the efficiency will go up. You can
Really?
change the lighting in your shop and make it dimmer, and the efficiency will go up. It's like, so there's always like, no matter what change you make, it's a new environment, and everyone usually changes from their normal rhythm, and then the efficiency usually goes up. And so it's just interesting thinking about that, and then actually using that in the real world in the shop and saying, oh wow, this is really working, and just trying to make it like permanent and trying to make it a fixture. And it seems like every time I do like a new SOP, that seems to happen, and then it kind of falls off. And I'm not trying to say like that's what's going to happen,
Yeah.
but
It
it's like
might.
it's interesting how the different concepts and the different programs out there you hear, and I guess where I'm going at is like, don't just take, if you're listening to this, don't take anything and just run with it in your shop because you heard maybe it's working for somebody else. And I think that's a big problem too. Everyone just tries to copy cut paste. This isn't working for me. It's like, well, you didn't think about it.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Have you heard of a rack attack? Do you know what a rack attack is?
I do remember who was
good
talking
Lord.
about that the other day.
I think it might.
I can't remember. Somebody was talking. We just brought that up the other day.
I was trying to find information about it.
That's the other new thing, isn't it?
Well, apparently, I would hope to have had more research done into the matter by now, because from what I heard in one of the classes at Vision, which was a very interesting class, you got to watch out for those Decepticons, guys. It was a very interesting class, but somebody had stood up in the class and was preaching this rack attack, and I'm like, that sounds like a whole lot of, and they may have been representing it poorly, but what this person had said was that somebody gets up, that basically they put the car on the rack, and then all the guys from the shop swoop over and they start doing the inspection. And I'm like, yeah, but who's responsible for that wheel? Like, when that wheel falls off, which technician did that? Like, how
That's
does
a
that
fair
work?
point. Yeah, the accountability of.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole reason why we. I mean, with Shopware, we can have technicians clock in and clock out on jobs. We know who did it, and it's not to like hold them like to the fire, but it's just
No.
accountability. It's like, comes back in a year, like no one's gonna remember who worked on that car. Well, I mean, there's certain cars you'll probably remember, but for the most part, you're not gonna remember who worked on that car. So the accountability is a big thing, you know. But the rack tack, and then the other one is the free diagnostics. That's another big one that's coming back.
Yeah.
A flat rate for pay. It's just like making the whole circle. Like we just got out all that stuff, and now it's like coming back in. I mean, how do you feel about like a free diagnostic situation?
Well, there's that's multifaceted. For instance, that little old lady that was crying on the counter, we did give her that free digital vehicle inspection, or that free check, because we felt like it was the right thing to do. That wasn't a diagnostic. As far as diagnostics go, I always tell customers that the finding the problem is the hardest part. Fixing the problem is much simpler. So if we give away free diagnostics, then we're discounting our time. We're discounting the technician's time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't personally believe in free diagnostics. And here's the thing. I feel like it's a shady practice that when you say free diagnostics and you're like, oh, well, I'll just roll it into the repair. Why not just be upfront and explain the value in the diagnostic you're getting for the customer, and explain to the customer on their level why, and no free diagnostic. I'm sorry. It's not happening in our shop.
Yeah, no. These guys work way too hard. They use all their brain space to come up with a factual answer for a factual repair. And that costs money to get that.
It costs money for time to keep the lights on, to be able to be there to do that.
All of it, and every single bit of it. There is no such thing as a free diagnostic unless you have completely lost your mind.
And you might as well say, it's not a free diagnostic. We're paying for your diagnostic as a shop. Oh, we'll pay for your diagnostic for you.
Not a problem.
Just take it out of our bottom line.
That's great.
Yeah, there we go.
Do you hear that, Mike Allen? I hope you're listening to this one. Well, not only that, but y'all's time too. I mean, it's not like you don't bring anything to the table, you know? I mean, there's education and yeah, I mean, there's just so much to the whole process, from the moment you pick up the phone to when they show up to the shop, to when it gets dispatched, to when it goes back to the office. I mean, just that alone, how is that not worth money, right? How's that not worth? Quote. Yeah, I mean, it's
well, and there's so much more into it than just that too. Like Jess and I, we are definitely a little more involved when it comes to being in the office. It's more than just a service advisor job.
I would love to be just a service advisor again.
It'd be so much easier. We do a lot of research. We go very in depth, and we have the knowledge, and I don't have as much as her, but I'm learning.
Don't talk about my silly that way.
But we go the extra mile to really delve into the whole entire process, because that's what helps explain it better to the customer, which is what pays for that diagnostic. And it's not just a technician going in and getting some answers and busting their brains over a super big, complicated electrical diagnostic that the customer thinks that they shouldn't have to pay, or it should be rolled over into. It's you working along with your technician, which not all advisors do this, and I understand. It's very time consuming. I like to. I love learning everything that I can. There's so much knowledge to gain. But I feel for myself that I am so much better at selling diagnostics. I sell 4 to 5 hour diagnostics up front all the time.
And they're ethically sold diagnostics, because our technician we might sell 4 or 5 hours. The technician might put 5 or 6 hours into that. Now, in that case, I know we should probably be selling 5 or 6 in some people's eyes, but we went from an hour diagnostic, or 1.4, whatever it is, to that. And Tilly's really, really good. I've sat back in just awe of it. I'm going to toot your horn here, Tilly. I've sat back in awe on how she explains it to the customer, and she doesn't get pushback in most cases on it. And if there's very few situations where I've seen lately, her very few get pushback. Generally, it's from some of the men.
Oh, that's fun. I just bring them back.
You do. But diagnostic is the hardest part of this job. I really feel like it is. And so back to that free, why are we going to give that away?
Yeah. I mean, that is the job in a nutshell, right? Like, most people coming in because they have a problem. Pretty rare they're going to come in and say, hey, everything's working great. Here's a $2,500 check. Just go ahead and maintenance everything. I mean, we've started the whole conversation with how that doesn't work out very well. So it's like, when people have a problem, that's when they come in and they're paying for an answer. And that answer also involves a fix. But I want to kind of step back, and I think we kind of glossed over like the golden nugget, I think, of this whole conversation, is what you were just talking about, with being able to explain that and then get the pushback from the guys, and then being able to contradict that and make that work, and then taking a really intricate diagnostic and putting your spin on it, and not as a technician, but being able to communicate that. Like, can you unpack that a little bit? Like, how does that?
How does what?
How do you work through that kind of situation, or like what's your sales tactics, I guess, in those kinds of situations? And you said you did a lot of research. Are you researching how that system functions, or
I research how it functions. I look into how everything communicates with each other, and I try to I guess for sales tactic purposes, I try to dumb it down and put it in layman's terms for people to where they can understand. You know, it's being able to understand it myself helps me to be able to communicate it to a customer to where they can go, okay, that makes sense. Take my money, do whatever you need to do in the most ethical way, of course. but where they can go, okay, I trust you because you explained it to me. You took the time to understand it yourself. And I'm also not afraid to tell customers, hey, I don't understand this, but I'm going to figure it out. And once I figure it out, we're going to work through this together. And I'm very upfront with people too. Jess taught me the number one thing with customer is there are so many unknowns. There's unknowns to everything. So when you're leaving that open door policy, your sales go up because you've already communicated and expressed with somebody, hey, this can go in so many different directions. We're going to work through this together, and I'm going to do the research, and we're going to go over this and see what we need to do to come up with a solution. There are no problems, there are only solutions.
Nice. I only bring that up because I have a problem with over selling myself. I feel like I got to walk in and like, start from day one is when I like this is how this sensor works. Now let me explain to you how this sensor communicates with and I'm just like down this rabbit hole like I'm teaching a seminar on how an O2 sensor works.
Oh,
And
that's
they're
me.
like
That's what I do.
and they're like and they're looking at me with like so you get the starry eyes, right? And it's like I think I overdid it. And right and
I
it's
get
like
the look from Tilly, and she's like, dude, rein it back a little bit. And I'm like, 1.21 gigawatts. This is how this works, and the specification is this. And they're like, I don't freaking care about the gigawatts. What? So when I see the look from Tilly, I'm like, I'm saying too much. So I get you where you're coming from on that. Like, you have a diagram out, a big whiteboard, and you got a marker.
Right. Like you're gonna be a technician by the time you walk out of here right now.
Yeah.
But it's like way over their head, and it's like that's you're not helping anything. And it's like, but I'm really trying to like provide a service here and make them feel like I know what I'm talking about. And it's like it doesn't work. And it's like it's so hard for me to take that and like I don't in layman's
sometimes
terms, right?
Sometimes you just use the KISS method.
I'm so bad at that, but Tilly's teaching me to be better at it. She really is.
It's funny you say that because I have the same protocols with like when it comes to certain diagnostics and repairs for the guys in the shop. I'm like, if it doesn't start, like just give it some supplemental fuel, right? Like keep it simple. What are we doing a cam crank correlation for right now? Like 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 sometimes you just need to like take a step back and do that 30,000 foot view for a second. Like hold on a second here. Why am I using a microscope right now to try to figure out this problem when all I got to do is do a wiggle test on the wiring harness or whatever it ends up being, right? And it's like I have the same issue when it comes to customer service in the office. I'm like 100% like with a microscope trying to evaluate this person and figure out who they are and use all these tactics that I've learned, right? The way they walk into the shop, and I'm like identifying this person. I'm like, who is this guy today? Like, is he upset because his like whatever's going on? It's like, dude, I think I'm looking way too deep into this right now. And so
overanalyze it.
Yeah, way over exactly. Good way to put it. Way over analyzing the situation, and then I have to prove my worth by telling them all the stuff I know about vehicles, and it's like this is not working. But I don't think I'm the only one, right?
No, I don't think you are at all. I don't think you are at all.
I felt like I struck a chord there.
Well, it's truth, sometimes the truth hurts.
But it's tough. It's tough.
But having the self-realization to be able to look at yourself, and we can't take ourselves too seriously. I mean, really at the end of the day, we try, we care, all that good stuff. And it's a matter of, it's okay to find faults and stuff that you can work on, because then you get to work on something and then the day gets better and then tomorrow's looking brighter.
Yeah. You just need one more thing to do, huh?
One more thing.
Said it.
I always need one more thing. I mean, I do that with phone calls too. So you take a phone call and you're trying to like diagnose this car over the phone to get them in the door, right? Like you're trying to sell this service. You're like, oh, I know what's wrong with it. It's probably going to be X, Y, or Z. Another big problem that I have. That's why I got kicked off the phone.
Yeah, don't do that. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't do that.
She's shaking her head already, like, oh man, I already screwed up, huh? And that's why my wife kicked me off the phone. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not answering the phones
tell people,
anymore.
hey, I don't know, get on in here and I'll give you answers.
Oh, that's so not what you say. So the over the phone diagnostic questions, it's a lot of unknowns. And I mean, we do explain to customers, hey, we don't know what's wrong. We need to get in there. We need to do the actual testing. And sometimes customers know a little bit about cars, and we're able to ask questions to get them to realize, hey, you have that code, but it can be 10 different things. So, I mean, one of the guys that we were I was palling around with at one of the groups of a whole shop came to Vision. I was palling around with them after the Vision Expo in the after evenings, and we were talking shop, and one of them said something that made my brain bust, and he's like, you know what I tell the customer the most expensive part is? And I'm like, well, what is that? The wrong one. Yeah, the wrong part is the most expensive one. So what we do over the phone with diagnostic is build rapport, but also build doubt on the fact that, yeah, it might be an O2 sensor code, but that O2 sensor may not fix your problem. And that's going to be an expensive part when you're throwing a dart at it. So there's a lot of, letting them know. Now, this is where we get technical with customers, especially if they do tend to think that they know a lot about cars, which is fine. Well, there's a whole tree of diagnostic that goes into this. It's not just quick plug it in and play. So we will explain what the diagnostic testing looks like, but we don't assume to have answers. We don't do that just because that creates us an opportunity for major failure.
Yeah, and I think that's like the whole not charging for diagnostic, where that's kind of stemmed from, right? So that communication that you're able to have, that level of communication that you have all over that phone call, I think is missed in like a lot of the shops, a lot of them, right? And so the easiest way to say this is like, you know what? Why don't you get it in here? We'll check it out for free, and then we'll tell you what you need. And so that's the easy way out. Am I right? Like that's
Yes. Yeah, that is the easy way out. It's the wrong way out.
So I actually got into a little bit of an argument with an instructor at Vision. My first time going this year.
I couldn't see why.
So it was the same class where the rack attack was discussed. So there's that. So I generally like to get there early and sit front left. That's my seat in all my classes ever. I ended up being a little bit late because I went to the wrong hotel because I thought the class was somewhere else. But I was sitting, middle of the room or whatever, up front ish. And it was a service advising class, and it was trust-based selling. In fact, I was very excited about this class, not because I felt like I needed a total, university course in it, but I figured maybe there's something new in the industry that I might pick up and learn here, and I might put some tools in our toolbox. But they were doing examples of phone calls. And the first one was BMW oil leaks. It was just a really example of a terrible phone call, which was fine. That example was great. And then the instructor, I like to engage in the class. I'm not just there to sit there and take notes and be bored. So he had asked, how did that second phone call sound? And in the second phone call, yes, the guy, I raised my hand because the guy was a lot more perky. He did seem to ask some qualifying questions for the customer to show that he was interested in the customer. There was a lot of positives, excuse me, but the call lost me, and I brought this up. The call said, oh, go ahead and bring it on down here. We'll do an inspection for you in 15 minutes, and it takes about 15 minutes, and we won't charge you for it. So instantly my hand went up, and I had the feedback of, well, hold on, wait a minute here, instructor. You can't possibly do a proper inspection in 15 minutes. And he's like, well, I disagree. And I'm like, well, I disagree that you disagree. And, and I'm like, no. You can't do a proper inspection of a vehicle in 15 minutes, and you're doing it for free. And so he started to somewhat berate me in the class and say, well, why wouldn't you? You want to do whatever you have to do to get that customer in the door. By lying to them and saying that you can do a proper inspection in 15 minutes? What? I was like ready to slither out of my chair and crawl out the door at this point, because there was a few other things that had already I was already like, this class is not aligned with my core values. So here we are. But then of course, then he goes, well, we listen to 3,500 calls a year, so I think that I know. Well, good for you, Decepticon. Good for you. If you know, you know. But I was just disgusted in the fact that That's just a cop out. To me, and I'm sorry if I offend you out there in the world, using that tactic, do whatever you have to do to get the customer in the door and tell them whatever they want to hear. No, that's not doing our job properly. That's not setting this relationship. Trust-based selling, you can't see the air quotes there. Trust-based selling, it's not setting us up for success for a proper relationship and rapport with that customer.
Mm-hmm.
That's selling them a lie. We're starting off this relationship with this customer in this situation with a lie.
Yeah, that's a fair way to put it. I'm familiar with the tactic, right? And I mean, it's spreading too. And I only bring this up because there's two different types of shops, right? There's your independent repair shops. You guys are probably busy, probably a week out, right? Pretty frequently, 3 days a week. I mean,
3 days, yeah.
We're all kind of struggling with car count. I mean, this time of year, but for car count in general, you're probably doing all right.
We're doing very well. No, not bragging. No braggies.
It was almost like you're waiting the whole show just to say that in unison. What I mean by that is like it changes your sales tactics when you need more car count, right? And so the only thing I say is the tactic changes when you go MSO. And I've noticed that, and talking and communicating and hearing the different sides of the story, it starts to make a little bit of sense when you get into that position where you have 3, 4, or 5 locations. It doesn't align with most core value though. That's the biggest thing, right? And so if that's your goal, that's the direction that you pretty much have to go. Because if you have someone calling around and they want to get in to have you look at it, and you say, okay, well, first off, from what you're saying, we're going to need probably an hour and a half of diagnostic. We're going to do DVI, whatever it's going to cost you $200 to get in the door. They call the next shop, which ends up being an MSO or a bigger franchise or chain. They say, you know what? Get it on down here right now. I'll have it checked out for you in 15 minutes. I mean, just from a consumer standpoint, not based on trust or anything else, which one are you going to go for, right? I mean, us being in the industry, I would rather go somewhere and pay that premium and know that my vehicle's taken care of. But most consumers or clients aren't going to be in that situation.
I think that's where a lot of that open line of communication comes into play. You have to be able to circumvent that from happening to begin with, and you have to have the confidence in being able to control that environment. If you don't gain control over the environment to begin with, you're not going to be able to get that customer in the door. It doesn't matter what Joe Blow does down the street, and if he wants to not charge for diagnostics, that's not my problem. My problem is to get the customer in the door, to get them factual answers and to get them a solution. And when you start circumventing all of that and you are able to, I don't want to say rope in a customer.
That's what it is.
But for better lack of terms, roping in a customer, you rope them in with the confidence. When you instill the confidence in the customer and you make them empowered and you inform them and you give them the decision, they're probably 9 times out of 10 going to keep coming back to you.
We don't want them to call a shop after they call and talk to us. If they're calling around for whatever, we want to, first of all, the phone interview with a customer, that is your first opportunity to do the razzle dazzle. And I don't mean that in any kind of false way. Like, you're letting that, when you pick up that phone, you're letting that customer know who you are as a shop right then and there by being open with communication. So that's that. And that goes into, that's the kind of relationships that we want to have. If at the end of the day, the customer's core values are looking for the cheapest price and they just want a quick service and all of this other stuff, there are plenty of shops out there that are better aligned for them than we are. I mean, we would love to have their business, but I don't want to fight them for their business. I want to be able to work together on the same team as the customer rather than this is part of that class. I feel like it was psychological warfare where you're trying to manipulate the customer into, coming into your shop. And that's where I meant like the roping them in. You're literally roping them in with that instead of walking with them through the door.
It's false hope.
It's false hope. So, I mean, I don't want to build relationships in our shop on that anyway.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I think that we are so successful at what we do, and it's not to toot our own horn, but at this point, I think we've earned the right to do that because of the fact that majority of the customers who are calling and are trying to get cheap pricing, what ends up happening? They end
They're
up coming to us
and how many
the
times do you get thanked
majority
for
of
how
the
much
time.
information you've given
Yes,
them?
and they want the cheapest oil change. They want the cheapest brake job. We won't do that. And we will tell them we are not going to be the cheapest, and this is why. And most of the time, they end up coming to us because of that trust and that informed decision. And you empowered them, and you gave them the opportunity to make the choice and let them know, hey, this is your choice.
Yeah, getting that communicated in that 2 or 3 minute phone call, I think is the hard part. And it's always trying to find an easy way to for that
I
process.
love
And there
it.
really isn't,
I love
right?
the challenge.
Yeah, I
There's
mean,
no easy way.
yeah, I mean, but you also want to you have to fight, right? You have to fight for their sale, and not fight for the sale because you want your bottom line to grow, but because you want them in your shop so that they don't go somewhere else and get ripped off. They don't have a disservice, and so that you can provide that
Mhm.
service that you've built up to them. But it's all over a 2 minute phone call, and you're trying to explain to them the last 5 6 years of your career, right? And in that 2 minutes, like, I'm telling you why you need to come here, but I'm also telling you that you need to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's difficult. And like I said, I just bring that up because it's interesting to look at the other side of it. If you are running 1,000 cars a month through your shop, and that's what you need to get your nut to like pay for everything, you're going to have a car count problem. Like, you're going to need more cars. And
Yeah.
what's the easiest way to capture that sale, that capture that client and get them into the door? Because if you were to do free diagnostics, you guys would be flooded. And once they came in and saw what you provided, they
Mhm.
would never go anywhere else. Like, I got this for free too. Like, holy shit. And they would
We
pretty much
take
open a
on
check. They would open the
yeah.
checkbook for whatever you said after that. You know what I'm saying? So it's a bit of a sales technique that might be a little sleazy in some eyes if you're, but it's just interesting to look at different perspectives, right?
There's a place for everything. And here's the thing for what it is. It's always going to be a fight, but it's a matter of, are you fighting alongside with the customer or are you fighting against the customer? I'm not trying to fight against the customer. But also, now with that being said, our shop, what it works for us isn't going to work for everybody.
Mhm.
Do I have very strong opinions? Oh, yes, I do. But that's just my opinion and what works for us. You know, being around a bunch of industry professionals recently and talking and flying over 30,000 feet to get there. And I was thinking to myself over that course of like, oh my gosh, like we're so spoiled in California because we have so many people. But then we were flying back to Missouri, you look and it's just wide open spaces. And I thought to myself, wow, it must be a lot different to get cars in the door here than what I'm dealing with. And what it did teach me in my head, made my brain shift a little bit, is what works for one doesn't work for everybody. And so yeah, I do have an opinion and I'm very, very opinionated anyway. But what I do and Tilly does, it's not going to work for everybody. And what they do isn't going to work for us. It's not, I guess there's no true right or wrongs. There's just how it works for you. And if you have an opinion about it, you do.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I mean, California's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Well,
circle back.
for the most part.
I want to circle back on that one.
Oh,
For
it's
all,
great.
for all the California haters out there, David.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
no, I mean, it's a fair point, and that's exactly what it is. And I think you get kind of close-minded when you're in your own little bubble, right, in your shop, and you're working every day, and years go by, and it's really hard to step back and look at what someone else is doing. You hear about a shop down the street doing whatever they're doing, and you're like, just want to badmouth them right away, right? Like the $49.99 oil change or whatever it is. Like, we all
Let
know that
them.
shop, and yeah,
Let them do
let them,
it.
right? But also, it's like, well, wait a second here. Why are they doing that? And that's what intrigues me. It's like, instead of just saying, you know what, yeah, let me send all my bottom of the barrels over there, right? What do they call those clients?
Oh, I
you know
don't know.
the term that was floating around for a long time, the bottom feeders, right?
Oh, bottom
Bottom.
feeders. I don't
Bottom
like that.
feeders. Like,
That makes me feel
I'll send
icky.
all the bottom feeders over. Like, why? What's the point of that? Like, what's with the negativity there? Like, maybe he needs help, or
Yeah.
she, what, like, maybe they're struggling to get cars. Maybe we can help that, or maybe there's an opportunity there for you to learn something about what they're doing. and it's engaging. And I love like events like with Vision. I'm
Oh, it
sure it was
was
like,
so nice.
right, like, and the networking is the biggest part of
It
it.
was so nice. Oh, I had so many great, I think other than the Clint White class, which taught me so many good tools. And then I had a service advising class, two service advising classes that were awesome. Jeremy O'Neill, I loved his class. His class was fantastic. And then Bill Haas. I took a service advising class with him. It he was so sweet. I actually got him to say an expletive very loudly, and it made my
Bill's
day.
awesome. Yeah, Bill's awesome.
But I enjoyed that class, even though we saw things differently on one topic. It was still fun because he was engaging. I called it the Sunday morning sermon. But then I think I learned a lot from just talking to people, for, industry people, industry professionals, just chatting, having a drink, and just it was the whole weekend of talking shop, and it was just so eye-opening to see that, even though I have my strong opinions about what I'm doing and what we're doing as a shop, there's so many different facets to this, and so many people are doing it differently, and they're having great success. And there's such a community in this community. Like, the automotive industry is huge. And, it doesn't have to be bad mouthing the shop down the street. We don't badmouth. I mean, we will roll our eyes at the dealer amongst ourselves and embrace customers and explain what we're going to provide. But we are not going to ever badmouth the shop down the street or in the next town over or whatever, because you know what? They're probably doing their best too. And there's plenty of cars to go around in our opinion.
Hopefully they are.
Hopefully, yeah. And if they're not, then we'll be there just to do what we do. We don't have to knock somebody else down just to build ourselves up. And I think I think there's getting a lot more of that in the industry, of the building each other up, which I love, because that whole knocking everybody down to be higher on the horse, not for us. And hopefully that's going to be extinct like the dinosaurs.
Yeah, I think what you were talking about with the class and that whole free diagnostic and the labor rate, or the cheap oil changes, I think that's just all a race to the bottom. And I think
And that was not Bill Haas's class or Jeremy Stevens' class. I just want to clarify, their classes were fantastic.
We all know who you're talking about.
I know, we know. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
I don't, because I wasn't there.
I'll fill you in later.
And not to say that that kind of tactic is used and that's the style of shop that they have, but it just kind of reminds us all of that time when it was a race to the bottom, right? Like,
Yeah.
10, 15 years ago, it was just like $10 off here, $10 off here. Before you know it, it was like, oh, come in and I'll pay you to do your oil changes. Like, when do we get to that point? Because it just is like everyone's just undercutting everybody to try to get to the bottom as fast as they can. It's like, what is going on right now? And also the point's not to charge the client like let's just all fix prices so we all make $300 an hour. That's not the point either, right?
No, it's to be fair.
It's to be fair and give educated decisions, right? To give the client the opportunity to make an educated decision about their car, but then for us to be educated as shop owners, as advisors, as technicians, to make sure we're doing the right thing. And I think it comes down to training. I mean, 100%
Yes.
training. And was there anything else other than I mean, what other training have you been in for service advising that you would recommend, I guess?
I'm not a formally trained service advisor. I didn't go to school for it. I just honestly, and neither did Tilly. We take every opportunity we can to take any class that we can that comes to town, as far as like the Napa Auto Care Series classes or the O'Reilly's classes. But those aren't service advising classes. Those are information and tech classes. But we'll take the service advising ones too. We're not formally trained though. I guess we kind of learned through the School of Hard Knocks.
That's impressive.
But I'm looking, I'm actually trying to find something to send Tilly to, because I got to go to Vision. I feel like it's fair that she gets to go somewhere. I'm currently looking for a good service advising or something to that effect class, but there's not, the problem is that I have been to a few classes over the bunch of years I've been doing this, but the problem is that a lot of these classes are, here's a nugget, here's a nugget, here's a nugget. And this is the problem that I had and why I'm so opinionated about the classic Vision, that I did not have the best time with, is because it was this same thing as like some of the training that you go to that comes around. I'm not going to mention names on that one either. It's 3 letters. You go into this thinking you're getting a class, and it's a nugget, and you're like, oh, cool, these nuggets are really cool. Like, that's what we should be doing. Like, and then it gets to the how do you do it? Oh, sign up for coaching. That's the answer. Oh, so I just sat through 4 or 6 hours of my life to
be
be
sold.
told that I sat through a timeshare demonstration, basically. Like, that's not a thing that I'm very thrilled about. So we need more training in the industry that is upfront training, that is that's not let's see, funded to sell something. We need training that's actually open, like training. And if anybody has any ideas or suggestions or have experience with that, with some true training, please reach out to me. I'm all over the Facebook group, giving my opinion here and there because I'm opinionated. But I would love some feedback on that because I'd love to take more classes. So would Tilly.
It's talk about a controversial subject there as far as
Yeah.
paying for coaching. I mean, I think you both are well above where I think the majority of shops are when it comes to service advising. And that's why I ask, because I feel like some of the best people in the industry kind of learned the hard way. They've learned from their mistakes. And granted, there's a lot that go through the training and they become very polished that way too, but they're usually very direct in one path and the way they want to service clients.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have like the broad spectrum to be able to take a conversation and redirect it and just be a human being. Like if you get someone that's trained into it, they have one direction. You have the 2 different teams, the 2 different camps. Bring them all in and we'll fix them all right now. Or the the 300% rule. We're gonna sell you a $3,000 maintenance, right? Like it's like there's 2 different teams, and you got to like find that mix somewhere in the middle. And you have to take little nuggets, like you said, out of each camp and then make it work for your own culture and your own what you want to do. But you kind of struck a chord there because I'm part of a coaching program, and
I
sometimes
don't think they're bad. I don't think that all coaching is bad. There's a place for it.
But when you said with the sales tactic, and it does turn into that sometimes, because even being part of that coaching program, they bring in new programs that they want to sell to their clients. And so I'm spending money to sit in my coaching program to then be sold another part of the coaching program.
Yes.
And what you said like was 100% like, I got up and walked out like, wait a second, I'm paying to be here. I'm not sitting through this to listen to this right now. Like I don't have no interest in like increasing my monthly bill right now. Like I'm paying enough. Like, and I hadn't even learned what I wanted to learn yet. Like I'm still learning this. So I get it. And a lot of those classes, that's what they kind of turn into. And I've heard a lot of people say that with some of the classes, some of these training events. It's what it turns into.
I do have something to say about, so this was my first time at Vision, and I did have an overall fantastic experience. There was so many positives to this, but being a first timer with my little rose colored glasses on, when I had created the estimate for Vision, the airport, the hotel, XYZ, and presented it to the owner and pretty much begged him to go, he literally told me, they're just going to try and sell you a bunch of stuff, right? And I was like, oh, no, John, no, they're not. And, me, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed with my rose-colored glasses was like, no, they're not. There's no way. The majority of the classes that I took were not like that. But it was a probably $4,000 investment to go to this training course. And it was presented in a way that you're going to learn a bunch of cool stuff. So the class that I sat through, and I had this instructor for multiple classes, and unfortunately, I didn't know enough to do my research about who the instructor was, because had I done that and realized what or who was funding the class, I might have maybe taken one of his classes. It wasn't that he was a bad instructor, it just didn't align with my goals and values as far as it goes. And I thought that I was getting something different with the class than what I was actually getting because I read the syllabus. So my advice is that if it's going to be your first time going and you're signing up for classes, reach out to somebody that's been there, that knows who, what, where, when, why, and maybe discuss what you're trying to get out of the expos like that. And not just Vision, any of them. That way you end up getting the most value for what you're going for. because I certainly did not fly across the country and, have the owner invest a bunch of money for me to go to sit through a timeshare presentation. That wasn't what I was going for. But if I would have been more educated on the other end of it and done more research, I could have probably picked classes that were better aligned with me and what I wanted to get out of the program.
Yeah, yeah, I think you hit that on the nail. The nail on the head there on that one. I have the same issue with Apex. I've got ASTE, and I've actually never been to Vision, but I've been to multiple training events, and you really do. I mean, and it's kind of a crapshoot sometimes in the sense of you go to these classes because you're like, that sounds like a hole that I have a problem with. That sounds like a pain point for me, and then all of a sudden it turns into something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And doing your research on the instructor of that class, I think, is what's really important. But I think with the training events, I've come to learn you just go there, take one
Yeah.
class, maybe two, because the value, right, is in the community of the people that you, in the networking of people that you meet. I mean, that's the bottom line. You got to take one or two classes because you need to fund the event. So I like to say that, like, at least go there and pay for one class.
Oh, I bought the
Like
whole package.
that.
I wanted to go to all the classes.
Oh, yeah. I tried that at SEMA one year, and that was a fatal mistake. Like, I'll be at SEMA and then I got a class at Apex in an hour. I can totally make that. You ever try to walk from the Las Vegas Convention Center back to the Venetian in an hour? Like, no, I'm not making this class. I got this all week. I should not have picked all these classes.
And I do want to be clear about something. I absolutely, there's nothing wrong with Vision as far as I had an amazing time. I would go back again. I would just do things differently in my choices. It was absolutely amazing. And I'm glad that I got the opportunity to have that experience. I wish there was something like that here in California.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That would be great.
Well, I got tools down in Huntington Beach.
Yeah. Is that an actual training or is that like for
training?
tools?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a tools
Okay.
and training event. I mean, it's pretty pricey. I mean, the cost of events in California are just astronomical, and
Yeah.
hence all the negativity about the state.
Yeah, right. So,
Well, this is awesome. I'm glad you guys both took some time and came on. And
well, thank you for having us on. I didn't
Yes.
tell Tilly that previous to this, like last night or this morning, that I wanted her to come on with me because I knew that if I did, she'd have stress about it. So I literally called her this morning and was like, "Hey, be in my house at 12:15."
perfect. That was
Oh
that's the
yeah,
way you
but
got to
she
do it,
knows
I guess.
she knows all my anxiety spots, and she's really good at poking the bear. Really good.
Me?
Ah.
Well, thank you so much for having us. And
Yeah. You guys look like you make a great team, and I'm sure you guys are gonna be super successful.